ever teach at all? Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Detroit everybody. In black and white. I'm Adolph Mongo. We here at McShane's on Michigan and Trumbull. I really thank Bob Roberts. It's Black History Month. You know, you know what? I have mixed emotions about Black History Month. That we have to just keep reinforcing our history, and because it's American history.
Absolutely.
It is history. But hey, you know what? We got those folks out there that want to erase us. You know, they say it's woke. Yeah, I'm woke. You know, and was those three soldiers, those two ladies and one man that just got killed by the drone in Jordan, were they woke? Yeah, they was woke. So now here we are, Allan Lengel, co-founder Deadline Detroit.
Hello. Good morning.
Detroit News and Washington Post. By way of Eagle American.
The Eagle American, where Adolph was the editor of the Eagle American paper. He was my boss.
I ain't run no bossing.
You know, I don't believe in that word boss.
I hate that.
I don't like it either.
Ever say anyone is my boss. I always say supervisor or someone that I work with, but no, not a boss. Been on the plantation a long time.
At Deadline Detroit, I when people would introduce themselves, I said, "This is my boss," and I would introduce myself. This is my colleague.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's my employee. I don't believe. I agree with you. I don't like that word boss.
Listen, a few times I had a job. I remember I got hired by Coleman Young. As the deputy director of public. Yes, I said Vanessa Moss, shit starter.
Yes, I did. He did not.
Yes, I did.
He did not say. Listen,
you're invisible.
No.
You're invisible.
Good morning, everybody.
How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm glad to be back.
Good.
If you are watching this morning, Detroit in Black and White, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. We are on all platforms. That's Facebook. That's Twitter. That's Instagram. We also have a page, DetroitInBlackandWhite.com, and you can watch all the episodes. We're here every Saturday, starting at 10 o'clock. If you want to come down and participate, be part of the live audience, that's awesome.
And today on the show, we're going to have an extended version. We're going to talk about, you know, Sinai-Grace. I always joke, but it's no joke. When somebody, I told somebody, if you're gonna, if I get so sick, you're gonna take me to Sinai-Grace, just make a detour and take me to Swanson Funeral Home, because it is in a sad state of affairs. They closed the cancer clinic.
Right.
We're gonna talk about that.
Right.
We got Chief James. Black History Month. We got Chief James Craig, and we got Robert Brown, Attorney Robert Brown. Have him.
Chief Craig.
Yeah, James White. I'm sorry.
James Craig. Oh my gosh! What you doing this morning?
I called you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the chief. He's going to be off the ballot. He's not going to be on the ballot. But we got James White. We got James White.
But who's going to be off the ballot?
James
the
Craig.
Former.
Yeah.
What is he booted off the ballot, or
he can't raise any money, and he ain't gonna get on the ballot.
There's
is he even really campaigning?
No.
Yeah. So
I mean, you don't have the money. You don't have the money. It's all about the money.
Okay, let's.
Which means I'm gonna need some money soon, because we're gonna be making an announcement in a couple of months.
And we're gonna.
Hey, where the money reside?
You're not getting any money.
Are you gonna run? Are you gonna run for office?
I am. I'll make an announcement in a couple of months.
Okay.
I am.
Okay, and we're gonna talk about the the life of Lonnie Bates. Deadline ran a obituary, got thousands of hits.
11,000 hits.
And Lonnie was a person, you loved him, you didn't like him, but you couldn't ignore him. You know, and he made an impact in the city.
Well, isn't that, you know what, this is the thing. I was thinking about this yesterday, how, you know, people, especially people in the public eye, they can make some misjudgments, mistakes, or they may not be mistakes. They've done some things that aren't bad, but that does not make that whole person. We have all sides to us. And he's an example of that. As you said, you know, some people, you know, didn't like him because of a few things that he did. But there was some positive things that he did too, and I think all of us.
I remember when the Free Press wrote an article talking about take the name off of Bates Academy, and I said, okay, if you take the name off of Bates Academy, take it off the cast and all that. You should have seen people calling me, you can't take Cass' name off there. I'm like, man, Cass was the worst. Right. The worst. But anyway, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Outrage of the week.
Oh, this would probably take a whole conversation, probably a whole show. This morning, I watch a lot of documentaries, but this morning I watched this documentary, and it is called Miami Gentrification, Raising Liberty Square. And the documentary is really about climate gentrification and how in Miami, first of all, Miami was built by Black laborers. These Black laborers were forced to move. They couldn't live on the beachfront because that was reserved for the folks, right? So they had to move into the middle of the city. And so you had a town that was called Colored Town. That's where the laborers live. But there's also a city called Liberty City. And they have a public housing there, which is called Liberty Square. Now, because of the hurricanes and the eroding of the beach, of Miami Beach, they're now moving. People want to move from that beachfront property, that prime property, and they want to move inward, right? And so what they're doing is, and this is an example of climate gentrification, because of what's going on at the beach, they're moving in, and they're displacing this Black community. Liberty City, there's a place called Liberty Square, which is public housing. And of course, they had this developer there telling them about how they're going to have grocery stores. I hope that our viewers are listening to this because this is very familiar. This is just a bird's eye view of what's going on all around the country. Detroit, Michigan is a Black city. But I digress. Anyway, so the developers came in and said, we're building these grocery stores. We're not going to displace anybody. We're going to repurpose these apartments. We're going to make them look really nice, and you can move in. But what they did is they started giving out, a year into the development, they started giving out vouchers, Section 8 vouchers, right? And they always have somebody, even back when we talk about Black History Month, even back in the plantation days, you always got one. You always got one. He grew up in Liberty City. He's working with the developers. Oh, they're not going to move you. And the people are pissed off. The residents are pissed off because now the residents have to move. You have a sister who had a school there. She developed a charter school, right? And she was one of those kids who had a learning disability, didn't learn. I encourage everybody to watch this documentary, because if it happens in a Black community, it can happen in a poor white community, it can happen in a poor brown community. It can happen.
You know what they missed? You know what? I haven't watched the documentary, but you know what's missing? But added to that, Little Hades. Little Hades is where most of the Haitian refugees moved to. And I mean, they forced them into this area. You know, nobody wanted to live there. Now, with the water problem, they moving them out because they looked at what's happening in that neighborhood and said, "Oh, you know, they stable. You know what? And now the people that built these $500,000, $2 million, $3 million condos that collapsed and whatever. Now they like, well, we got to find a safe place. It's like when they moved the Native Americans from Georgia and North Carolina to Oklahoma, and then they found oil on
it can happen to any community. It can happen to any community. But anyway, the sister has a school. She wanted to buy this property. They told her she couldn't buy the property at that time. I think it was worth $15,000. Now it's almost $1 million. And of course, the developer came in. My outrage is that this continues to happen. And it continues to happen to the people that are the most disrespected and the people that are the most vulnerable. We're talking about people who are living in public housing. And you're taking their housing away, and you wave this dang on voucher in their face. They go somewhere where the landlord can raise the rent. Okay, you stay there for a year, and then they promise the people, well, you know what? You don't have to move, and if you move, you could come back. They'll never come back.
Well, they
have another area called Scott Harbor where that happened in the 1990s in Florida. Those people never came back.
That's Lafayette Park.
That's my outrage.
That's Lafayette Park.
Watch it.
That was Black Bottom. But anyway,
watch it.
We can talk about that. Allan, your outrage.
My outrage is Fannie Willis, the Fulton County prosecutor. I think.
Man, we're about to fight.
Okay. I just think here's a case. I mean, when you're going after big game, you gotta have a clean shot. You got to be careful. You're under a microscope. These people are going to come after you if you make the wrong move. And I think she has to be super careful, and that she has got this guy that she's having an affair with, and who and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that he has the experience level.
Police,
no, it's not. It's no. They're going to fuck up. They're trying to fuck up the case here, and they're trying to undermine the case, and it's one of the stronger criminal cases.
I was hoping it ain't so that.
So are you saying that we're buying into? Okay, listen. She and that guy made a wrong call. Your personal business, what you doing?
It ain't personal though.
No. What you're doing is fine, right?
Yeah.
But I challenge people to not take their eye off the ball.
Right.
But we're allowing it.
But they're gonna take our eye off. They're gonna take our.
You still have to pursue that case.
I agree. Absolutely. Look, whatever happens, I mean, whether she has to recuse herself or whatever, that case is solid. That case is there.
Recuse herself because.
Well, I don't know.
She gave them the contract. And listen, it's like, remember Carol Mosley Brown?
Yeah.
She ran for the Senate. Smart woman. I liked her. Man, she raised all this money and couldn't find out her campaign manager. They eventually got married. She was paying him $100,000 a month as the campaign manager. Now, you know what? You compensate people for doing the work.
Right.
Stuff. But when people giving you money to run a campaign, if you paying administrative staff more than that you paying for the campaign, that is the problem with that.
And she is a great prosecutor. I mean, when I was reading an article when they said, some of the younger prosecutors that come, they say, you want to know how to try a murder case, go sit in her court and watch her.
That's why they did a deep dive on her. They spent over $1 million to do research on her. They followed her. They got her personal stuff, and there she was. The guy was getting a divorce. It's not like she broke his family up. But if he's the main prosecutor, he's going after Donald Trump and all his minions.
Another adulterer. Okay, yeah, that's why I said the morality police, get out of here. Adulterer, thief, a liar. I mean, he's all these things. And you say he's a criminal.
Yeah, that's what you absolutely. No, I'm going to tell you this. When I was at the Detroit News, I
You
was,
hold that
What she
thought.
did, what she
Hold
what
that
she did
thought.
was criminal?
Hold that thought.
no,
Hold
it's not.
that thought. Hold that thought. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. I'll do my little outrage, and then we're gonna talk about the outrage in Detroit, Sinai-Grace, Detroit Medical Center. That's my outrage. Go ahead, Allan.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, you know, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasurer.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasurer.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
All right, we are back.
Okay. Before we go to our first guest, I'm gonna do my outrage. And you know the as a
Could
military.
you talk up a little bit? 'Cause I can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Do like
Right,
Thomas
commercial.
Edison, put that thing
Hello.
over here. Can you hear me? But anyway, my outrage is, you know, all these folks
So you're
that
right.
what? No,
Oh,
that-
okay.
we can talk about that later.
Okay.
But my outrage is the three young soldiers that got killed by the drone,
Yeah.
and you got Tommy Tupperville and all these folks talking about
Tuberville.
no, Stupidville. You know, they're talking about people woke. He don't want women to be in charge of anything. He don't want black folks to go to the academy, West Point or the Naval Academy, etc. But my outrage is John James, who went to West Point, who served in Iraq, who listen, did all the right things, has been silent. Wow.
Are we shocked?
No,
But you should
yeah,
be
I am
outraged.
shocked. I am
Why?
shocked
Why?
because I know his family. I know
Okay.
where he came from. He wasn't raised like that.
Right.
But here he has somebody in his party looking at him and saying, you don't supposed to go to West Point. You supposed to be a cook, or you supposed to be shining our shoes or whatever. Here a man in the Senate that made all his money off the backs of black athletes. He gets elected to the Senate, and then he goes crazy. Oh, they not qualified to do this. They not qualified to do that. And somebody, he won an award, Academy Award. They only did it because he was black, and they throw that woke shit out there. I'm woke. I'm woke. I'm woke. And I'm gonna be woke. And that's my outrage. I'm
right.
gonna stay woke. But anyway, Allan,
All
go
right,
ahead.
are we gonna bring?
Bring Joanne.
All right, we're gonna bring our first guest of the day. Later, we're gonna have Chief White, James White, not Chief James Craig.
Yeah, well, you know, James is a James.
Right. So, anyways, we have here Joanne King. She is the host of a podcast called Detroit Joe, which I have been on a couple times. And let me, you know what, I'm going to put a little picture here of your podcast there, Detroit Joe. See here. Anyways, she's a retired school teacher, 34 years in the Detroit school system, a graduate of Mumford High School.
Yes.
Living on the Detroit East Side, and we brought her here because she called me up and she told me that she had some medical issues and that she was dealing with them with the DMC and Sinai-Grace, which we've heard a lot about Sinai-Grace, and a lot of it has not been good. Tell us, sort of, get us started here and tell us a little bit about.
I'm gonna tell you how I got there.
All right.
I didn't know that Sinai-Grace had a reputation because all of my doctors were Providence doctors. But my doctors at Providence, they all retired at the same time. But they gave me to other good doctors. But it just happened that they were DMC doctors. Okay. One was my cancer doctor. I've had cancer twice. And you don't switch those types of doctors. So I went to Sinai because of my doctor there and my primary care doctor and my OB/GYN. But she has her own office. The other two were in the professional building at Sinai, which is raggedy.
And when you say raggedy, what is
two elevators, maybe one is working. One day that they called me and said, if you can't walk up steps, then do not come today.
Wow.
And I said, well, I can't walk up steps. Now, I should have thought then something wasn't, right. But it is what that it is. So I had noticed that my ankles and legs were swollen. So I went to my primary care sister at Sinai-Grace. She said, you got to go and take a test because it might be a blood clot. So I went and I took the test, found out that it was water, congestive heart failure.
Wow.
Now I'm still cool with Sinai. I haven't heard nothing bad. I was in the emergency, and the emergency doctor was an African brother, cool, straight. He said, your cancer doctor, I just talked to him, and he said, we are going to take care of you. I said, well, cool, So they drained out the water. I stayed in that emergency room for a whole day plus. Now, this was last year around this time. Most hospitals didn't have COVID patients there in the hallway. They because the numbers were low. But I was cool with it. They found me this a little area where that my gurney was, like it looked like it was the old ICU unit. But I was happy that I had a place. Okay, so they got the water off, and they said, now you got to promise us you're gonna go and see your doctor Monday. I said, I promise. So Monday, I call up my doctor, and they say, well, she is gone. I said, gone where? I just saw her three days ago. They said, well, we can't tell you, but she's gone. And I said, you all did something to her. All right. So I get another doctor. I got two old heads because they couldn't figure out where this congested heart failure was actually coming from. So my two doctors are working and running tests, and I make a appointment to see my cancer specialist. They said, he's gone. I said, he's gone. And they sent him more than an hour outside of this city, way out in some county.
Commerce Township.
Commerce, maybe there.
Yeah, I know Sinai-Grace says so.
So you're saying they told you that he's no longer there. He's gone somewhere else. And the same with your other doctor.
Yes.
Wow.
They gone. All right. So
and
now
this all happened in how many days?
that happened all within maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. So my two old heads are still working on me. And I called my my cancer doctor, and I said, I will still come and see you. I didn't know how far it was, but I will still come. Okay, so that was all in like January, February, and the old heads are trying to find out why I had this congestive heart failure when I'm healthy. All right. Then comes July 2nd. This July 2nd, I get up to go to church. My husband goes 30 minutes earlier because he's on the church staff. So I get up, get out of the bed, and my arm is hanging off. I immediately picked up my phone. I said, honey, you got to come home quick. Either I had a stroke or I'm having one. Well, it was, everything was happening so fast that I wasn't even scared. But on my podcast, I talk about it, and I called it Thank You, Detroit. I should have labeled it Thank You, God and Detroit. Because that EMS got to our house in a second.
Wow, that's good.
It is in a second.
Good
Got
to hear.
me in there, and then I'm going in and out. And the next thing I know, I do remember him telling my husband she will be going to receiving, because that's where the trauma goes. Receiving took care of me. I don't remember getting out of the ambulance, but I remember there was a doctor that said, Joanne, I'm going to do a procedure on you. Sign this paper. I wake up, I sign it. He said, this is some good handwriting.
That's because you learned how to handwrite in school. They don't do that anymore. They don't do that anymore. Go ahead.
So he said, I'm going to do a procedure on you. And the next thing I know, Joe, wake up, wake up. I said, I thought you were going to do a procedure on me. He said, finish. Okay, they take me to the, now this is all at
This is at Detroit receiving.
Where we used to talk about receiving bad.
Right.
But
you were happy with your
receiving. I went to ICU, stayed there for a day. They placed me onto the floor because I had no paralysis. And on July 4th, then the doctor came, sat there in the room and looked at me, and he smiled. I said, you're the person that did the procedure, aren't you? He said, yes. He said, I took 3 blood clots off of your brain.
Oh my God.
And then I tested your, brain to make sure the blood was flowing. He said, you are all set. While I was there on the floor, receiving was clean. There was always a nurse, an aide. When you push that button, they were there. Now, they were short-staffed,
Right.
but this is July 2nd, July 4th. So, a lot of
holiday.
people, yeah.
Vacation for the holiday.
But they were still there. They then sent me over the rim. I did some working out, even though I was fine, but still did it. And then I went home, and I was fine. But my stomach kept bounding. I said, it's wrong. And I said, it's got to be, I need to go to my OBGYN. Something's funny here. Now, I'm 69 years old. Why would I have a fibroid tumor? First they thought it was the size of an orange. It was a grapefruit. So they have a new way of taking out fibroids. But they couldn't do that on me because it was too big. I've never had children, so therefore that the uterus had not expanded. So they had to go through some of their old-fashioned ways. But this is bad. Oh, she is so wonderful, and it ended up that she specializes in large fibroids. Just happened, like God was working.
Right.
So she said, I'm going to do the procedure, but either you will go home today or go home tomorrow.
So where was she going to do the procedure? Was this at Sinai-Grace?
We at Sinai-Grace.
So you back at the
We at
war
Sinai,
zone.
and this is where I'm starting to see something ain't right at Sinai-Grace. And I grew up near the area, but it was called.
What were you seeing that wasn't right?
Well, I thought it was right. They didn't have staff, and they were mean. So they take me to this area where that people stayed for just one day. And I said, okay, you've done surgery. And I needed to go to that bathroom. So I pushed the button because they tell you at the hospital, don't get up, push the button. I pushed the button, and this one, and I will be saying black and white, but I really don't want to say black about these people. I want to use the word, but I'm not going to use it. All right. So she comes.
The other word begins with
Yeah. So she comes, and she says, what? I said, I have to go to the bathroom. So I guess she must have unhooked the bed, and she pointed to the bed.
go.
Now I just had surgery. I just had major surgery. My whole
You want to make
uterus.
sure you're not going to fall.
You would think. So I made it to that bathroom
On your own?
on my own, blood running, the whole thing. So I said, this ain't right here. But I said, that's okay, because I'm going home tomorrow. So the doctor comes, checks me. She says, I'm gonna let you go home. And this one aide comes in, and she was just a lovely sister. She said, I'm gonna hurry up and get you dressed so you can go home. Because what I forgot to say, this all happened Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Oh wow.
So I was in the hospital. They brought me in on Christmas Eve. I left on Christmas Day.
Wow.
So I was happy to go home.
Can I pause for a minute? Want to do a quick commercial, and then
Okay.
we'll get back to your
All right.
Christmas at Sinai-Grace here.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your garden supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
Say that again.
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Okay, welcome back. In case you just joined us, we've got Joanne King. She's a podcaster of Detroit Joe, and we're here talking about her experience at Sinai-Grace with some of her ailments that she was dealing with. And you were telling us right before the break about you being there Christmas Day.
the surgery was on the 15th. When I started to hemorrhage was on Christmas Eve. And the hemorrhaging, now I'm scared. We ain't talking about the little look. I'm now hemorrhaging. My husband puts me in the car. We go back to Sinai-Grace. They call in my doctor. She's right there. And they take x-rays, and she says, I want to make sure that the sutures, that they are still there. There's no problem.
And this is for your fibroids.
Yeah, because they had to take the whole uterus out.
Okay.
So she said, so therefore, I want to stay here for one day, just so I can keep an eye on me. And then I hear someone say, her hemoglobin is 7. Yeah, your hemoglobin was supposed to be 13.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 13.
So 7. So they said, well, we're gonna put you into this room until we can get you moved to somewhere else. That's what they said. The room was a storage room, and they had a divider where that looked like the staff kept their purses, because I would see people come in and go and get their purse.
It is terrible.
And they all look mad. So this is now, it's like the midnight shift on Christmas Eve or the Christmas. I need to use the bathroom, and I need water. I pushed the button, and they asked me the problem. I told them, okay, we sending somebody. Now, where that my room was, it must have been across from their break room, because I kept seeing all these workers going in there, and they'd come out laughing. So I guess that their break room was across from me. So I pushed the button, and I kept on, pushing it.
Nobody
No
shows up.
one.
No one shows up.
So then,
And what's going on right now while you were pushing the button?
while I pushed the button, I can hear people calling for help, and I'm not calling for help because they're right there past me.
And you're in the storage room, right?
I'm in the storage room.
Now, are there purses and stuff in that room along with you?
They're on the other side of the divider.
Lord, have mercy.
So I every time I see somebody, I would say, help, nurse, and they were like this, like they ain't heard a word. So so I could see that they were not going to service us. They got together. They said, we're going to have our little party, and we're not servicing no one. So I'm still pushing the button, and now they ain't answering.
And how long is this now since you've been pushing the button?
It's hard to say because
You were in distress.
Yeah.
So it seemed like forever for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then luckily that my one of the residents, he came through, and it looked like he was looking for me. So he finds me. And I said, they won't give me any water. They won't take me to the bathroom. And then he touches me. He says, you're cold.
You need a blood transfusion.
He says, you are cold.
Yeah.
So he runs somewhere and comes back, and he has a blanket, and he wraps me up. He said, I just spoke with the nurse, and she's going to come back to take you to the bathroom and to bring you some water. Okay, so I'm pushing a button again. I'm watching the people. They're going past like they don't even see me.
Nobody should. Nobody.
But somehow I'm able to get out of that bed. So I get out and I said, and I didn't feel stable. So I put my hands onto onto the wall, and I just walled it all the way to that bathroom, and I walled it back. Run into an aide. She doesn't help me. She said, "You should get somebody to help you," and she kept going.
No, this is a hospital. This sounds like how they treat people in nursing facilities, because they do that all day long. This is terrible. And this is hospital in the city of Detroit on the west side. You've had surgery. You're there on an emergency basis. And they say, hey, we still gonna have our Christmas party.
Mhm.
The aide who could have bought you some water basically says, that ain't my job. I'm not doing it. There's no bedside manner whatsoever.
None, because they don't see me. They don't see anyone. Then finally, like I said, I would like to use the N word because that's what they were. All right. Now, a nurse finally comes. She has the card, and I say to her, "Well, why is it that they won't help me?" And she was white, and I was happy to see her because she wasn't. That I hate to say it, but the truth is, she looked at me and she looked sad. She said, "I'm sorry." She says, but it isn't us. There's only 2 nurses covering the whole emergency area. 2 nurses. So she takes me to the bathroom. She gives me water and she gives me crackers. And finally, that my doctor comes. So now it's Christmas Day morning. And that my doctor comes. She says, "I looked at your x-rays. You're going to be all right. And we don't want to give you any, blood. We think that you can make it." And they said that, and she told me, so you can go home. Now, my phone was with me, but it was over, and I couldn't get to it. And I said, I can't call my husband because he's had a triple bypass, and if he comes in, he's gonna have a fit. So I said, Joe, you're gonna have to deal with this.
Right.
So what I didn't know is that my husband was taking pictures. Garbage can with all the garbage falling out.
And where were those picked? Where was that?
That in the hallway or
in the hallway,
room somewhere.
Right.
He had a picture of a curtain that had blood on it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure that with my hands going on the wall, I probably put some blood on it. So after that, then the doctor told me that I could go home. After I got home, I wasn't angry. I was just happy that I was home. But I called up my friends and I said, I was at Sinai-Grace. They said, what the hell are you doing over at Sinai-Grace?
Okay.
Sinai-Grace, it is horrible. And I want the viewers to know that I'm not talking about Harper Grace. Harper Grace, and that the medical center where that receiving is, they are wonderful. RIM, where I did rehab, wonderful. It was just Sinai-Grace.
So in summary, first of all, they didn't have enough staff to respond appropriately. Do you feel like you got the right medical treatment there?
I got the medical because I had a good doctor. I had the best treatment, but there was no care once that the doctor leaves. Because
So no follow up, no.
You didn't have no nurse and you didn't have any aides.
And when you were going to the bathroom, obviously we all who have had surgery before know we're a little wobbly, a little shaky. Were you worried about falling when you were going to the bathroom?
I was very careful because in the back of my mind was you cannot fall. So I just somehow by doing the wall, and I did that twice. And like I said, I got no help whatsoever. And when I talked to my friends, they said Sinai-Grace is a horrible place. I said, well, the way I got there, it was because of my, doctors. So now, to see my cancer doctor, I got to go way out. But I was talking to my two OHEAD doctors, and I said, what's up with Sinai-Grace? He said it is messed up, and it's been messed up for over 20 years that we've been fighting the fight to try to get Sinai together. Now, Sinai is separating the black patient from the black doctor. That is number one. Notice that the black doctors, they are now gone. My doctor said I can count the black doctors on just one hand.
So they have gentrification going on in the Sinai-Grace Hospital?
Yes, they do.
Wow.
And one of my doctors, who is a brown man, he says, even though he doesn't work there because he's very, very good, sometimes they will call him in. He said that he will, go in and they act like they don't even see him. He's trying to find his patients. He said they are just plain mean.
And who was plain mean? The hospital.
The hospital.
The hospital staff. And do they think it's a racism that's going? What are behind it?
The doctors feel, and I felt it too, is that Sinai-Grace doesn't really want to be there. They don't want to be in that part of the city. So instead of them closing up, they have decided to give us half-ass treatment.
So to strangle it till no one wants to go there anymore.
Yeah. Now I have good insurance, so I can go somewhere else.
Right.
But a lot of people can't.
Right.
A lot of people can't.
We're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to give your summation or closing arguments, and so we'll be right back.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com to see if you qualify.
Say that again.
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
And that's
So, yeah.
We are back.
Yeah, we're back. So,
We're back.
what I was saying before we got on, what's interesting about this story, what's interesting about what you said, they said that they don't want Sinai-Grace, is that a few years back, I mean, I know within the last 10 years, they poured a whole lot of money into Sinai-Grace. DMC poured a whole lot of money into that hospital, trying to bring it up to par. They refaced it, you know, the whole thing. So you spend all this money and then you say, hey, we don't want it anymore. And we can't really say it out loud, but we'll do it in how we treat people. You have people working there who clearly don't want to be there. I know that you do a story about how all these nurses left Sinai-Grace.
They had a lot. They had
a lot of them quit. I mean, this is just insane. Because the question becomes, well, what other hospital do you have in the neighborhood?
And that
in the city of Detroit, what other hospital do you have?
And that is a problem. And what Adolph said was exactly right. If you go there, you might as well go over there to Swanson, because if you don't have anybody to fight for you or to stay there with you, because one of my doctors said that somehow his wife ended up there, so he just stayed there with her.
Right.
And so my last thing that I would say, don't go to Sinai-Grace if there's anything that you can do.
So do what they say. Did they want to close it down? So you want people to help them close it down?
Yes, you do not. You know what I said? Bye. And for them to close up the cancer center.
It's awful.
So that means those cancer patients have to go downtown.
So do you really think the answer is don't go there, or bring attention to the fact and raise hell about the quality of care that is not given to people, what they're doing, and how they spend all this money to put into this hospital in the neighborhood, and they're doing nothing about it? Do you really think the answer is don't go?
The answer is close the bitch down.
Well, it's like, I mean, you would hope the thing they would respond. You're not the first. We've been hearing stories about Sinai-Grace for years now. When we were doing Deadline Detroit, we were doing a lot of Beaumont stories, but we were getting a lot of stories being told, and we wanted to delve in to what was going on at Sinai-Grace. And I did start to talk to one doctor there. We had a lot of problems there. But hospitals are, they shouldn't just be about money. Obviously, it's more profitable to operate out of Commerce Township than it is to operate in the city of Detroit. But hospitals have some obligation to, care. We've lost our way with healthcare in this country, period, where people are paying ridiculous amounts of money, where healthcare is not what it should be. My father would go to, Henry Ford, and I go to Henry Ford for all my stuff, usually on the boulevard. But my father, elderly, and sometimes he was admitted in the hospital. I would stay overnight because his machine would be like beeping at like 1 in the morning, and the nurses station, they'd all be sitting around, and I would come out and I'd say, excuse me. I said, the machine is beeping, and they'd act like I was intruding. They were sitting around, and they'd go, all right, we'll be there. Well, 10 minutes later, I'd be like, hey,
what hospitals do we have in the city? You have the DMC, you have all those hospitals in the hub in the Wayne State University area. Do you have
that was West Bloomfield.
And you have St. John's on the east side, and then you have Sinai-Grace. There's nothing in Henry Ford.
It used to be,
but that's crazy.
It used to be all the hospitals in Detroit, but they want to be in Novi, they want to be in Northville, they want to be in Ann Arbor, Brighton. They build these real nice buildings. Right. You drive down Telegraph, you see Beaumont. Look better than the Beaumont that's in Royal Oak. Listen, that's where they want to be, and they don't want to be inside the city in Detroit.
And we're also seeing, look, a lot of these hospitals are, instead of using doctors to deal with a lot of issues. They're using physician's
A
assistants.
lot of
And, when you leave now, you get checked out or for some serious issues, a physician assistant sometimes checks you out.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna knock them because
They're good.
oh, they
Don't-
real
don't-
good. Because sometimes they better than the doctor. Because
They're more conscientious.
There's no question about it. Joanne, in closing,
She already said
I
close the beach.
know she want to close the bitch down.
Close the beach down.
She from my era. She from my era, right, Allan? Yeah, there's no question. We're gonna
But
continue.
here's Kenneth Reed. I'll just read the one comment. He says, when the pandemic was going strong, they were stacking body bags in lounges
Nobody
or
did shit.
refrigerated trucks. I wouldn't go to Sinai Slaughterhouse, not even at gunpoint.
And there's no question.
So, I mean, the message is for hospitals, we need better service. You need to be aware of what's going on. And when we talk about even trash in the hallway, we've seen that in hospitals in the suburbs, the same thing, where it's that people are not.
But hospitals been moving out of Detroit. Providence moved out of Detroit. St. Joe's moved out of Detroit. All these hospitals, Creighton, all of them
But
used to
here's
be
the
inside
problem,
the
though.
city of Detroit, and they just moved.
But here's the problem, though. You talk about the resurgence of the city, and people are moving from the burbs into the city. You got to have some place for people to go if they get sick. They're not going to have. They can't drive all the way out to Commerce and all these other places. So you're going to have some place for these people to go.
Right.
So for them to purposely say, "Hey, they don't want this place here," it's a problem.
No question.
It's a problem.
In closing, Joanne, how's your health?
I'm not there yet, but every week I'm feeling a little bit strong.
Okay, good.
That's awesome.
That's good, and we're glad that you came. And you're still doing your podcast.
Yes,
Okay.
and I would love to have you on since you're running for office.
Okay, I would love to come on.
I don't think I can vote for her.
And there's the podcast, Detroit Joe. You can get on any platforms.
Contact
There's
information.
ain't no question. And one last thing. So my guy from Montford passed away. When?
Oh,
Say
Lord.
his name.
Maurice Hunter,
Yes.
and that we used to call him Mo.
He
So
used to have a big fro.
yes,
He was great at tennis.
oh, I mean he was superior, and he died maybe last year.
Okay.
Was
Okay.
sometimes last year, and we were in shock.
So you had your 50th high school
Yes,
reunion?
yes.
Did you go?
Yeah, I sure did.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as big because a lot of people gone. That's hard to stomach
Yeah.
that you are at the time when people are leaving. I just don't want to leave with them now. And
You're gonna hang out a
yeah,
lot.
so,
Yeah.
Well, like I said, if I get sick or something happened to me and I'm close to Sinai-Grace, take me to Linda Swanson. That's my girl. O'Neill was my guy. He's no longer with us. Take me to Swanson because, hey, listen, they're going to kill you over there.
you know, I almost felt that. The only thing I said is going to keep me here is that my husband's coming. So I knew that with him coming soon, that I
He went to Montford?
What?
husband?
No, he cast.
He went to Cass. He was that bullshit guy.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're going to thank you, Joanne.
Thank you.
And be back.
Thank you.
And
You
we're
all
gonna-
have an excellent
And we're going to
podcast.
take a break and we're going to come back and
All
we're going
right.
to talk about Lonnie
Okay,
Bates.
yeah, Robert
Amen.
Brown.